Legislature for Thursday, July the 5th, 1990. This is David Carter, Speaker of the House and member of the Assembly for Calgary-Egmont. After question period today, the House will be dealing with Committee of the Whole with regard to one or two bills, and then moving on to Royal Assent around about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, when Her Honor the Lieutenant Governor will attend upon the House to give Royal Assent to about 35 bills. Today sets a record for sitting days. The previous record was 72. This is now day 74. The previous record for the number of nights was 32. We now have the unenviable record of 36 nights. Please be assured that after the House rises to come back in the fall, that the members of the Assembly still travel many miles and have much work to be done in terms of their constituencies, as well as cabinet ministers dealing with their various departmental responsibilities. But as for yourselves, have a happy and safe summertime. Let us pray. We, thine unworthy servants, here gathered together in thy name, do humbly beseech thee to send down thy heavenly wisdom from above, to direct and guide us in all our considerations. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presenting petitions.
Members for Westlock Sturgeon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a petition from 386 members of the Westlock Sturgeon and St. Albert's constituencies requesting that the provincial government utilize the laundry services presently being installed in the new Sturgeon Hospital at St. Albert to do its own laundry, not contract out the laundry to outside organization because of the loss of jobs and the waste of taxpayers' money that would result.
Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees.
Order, please.
Notices of motions. Introduction of bills. Tabling returns and reports.
Minister of Family and Social Services, followed by Forestry, Lands and Wildlife.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to be able to table responses to written questions numbered 185, 186, 187, 196, 197, 198, 199, 217, 316, 317, 321, and 328.
Forestry, Lands and Wildlife, called.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to table responses to questions 251 and 275, as well as the information requested in motions for return 262 and 284.
Minister of Tourism, followed by the Treasurer.
Speaker, I'd like to table responses to questions taken during main estimates that I took as notice.
Thank you. Provincial Treasurer.
Speaker, I'm pleased today to table with the Assembly 5 items, including the Alberta Municipal Financing Corporation 1989 Annual Report, responses to written questions 231, 32, and 278, and response for order for return 184. At the same time, as Speaker, I'm planning with the Assembly copies of the 7 pension reports for the year ended March 31st, 1989.
Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to table responses to written questions 341, 342, 343, 351, 359, 364, and motion for return 379.
Edmonton, Minister of Advanced Education, and then I'm going to come back over here.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to file with the House oral questions asked during the budget estimates debate in accordance with the indication of government earlier in the estimates.
Thank you. Edmonton Jasper Place.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to file 3 copies of a letter from the Chair of the Public Advisory Committee to Daishawa complaining about their lack of information from Daishawa and their fact that the government didn't allow them to be involved in deciding the ground rules in the Daishawa FMA.
Additional.
Introduction of special guests.
Member for Edmonton Avonmore.
Mr. Speaker, it is my pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to members of this Assembly, members of the family of my esteemed colleague from Stony Plain, his brother Bill, his son Chris, and his nephews Douglas and Wayne, who are sons of Bill. I would ask that they now rise and receive the warm welcome of this Assembly.
Minister of Family and Social Services, followed by...
Mr. Speaker, I often talk about partnership and meeting the needs of Albertans today, and with us in the members' gallery, Mr. Speaker, we have some representatives from a program called Second Chance for Youth. Mr. Speaker, this program is a partnership of this government, of the citizens of Edmonton, and a volunteer board. I would ask Vivian Edward, Jason Longmore, Don Poquet, Lania Roloff, Trevor Thomas, and their youth worker, Mr. Al McCullough, to rise in the members' gallery and receive the warm reception of this Assembly.
Bow Valley.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to introduce to you today and to the Assembly a retired lawyer and prominent citizen of the town of Brooks, Don Creer, already seated in the members' gallery. If he would please rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
In the red shirt.
Edmonton Jasper Place.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to introduce three special guests from the Federal Republic of Germany. We spent some time today discussing the German question, which is actually how many goals they'll win the World Cup by on Sunday. They are Peter Hansen, Hans-Nico Petersen, and Hauke Karstensen. I'd like them to rise in the public gallery and receive the welcome of the Assembly.
Edmonton Kingsway.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure today to introduce 12 students from the English as a Second Language class at the ABC Winifred Stewart campus in my riding. They're in the public gallery and they're accompanied by their teacher, Dean McKay. I would ask that they rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Minister of Tourism.
Speaker, it's my pleasure today to introduce on behalf of our member from Edmonton Glen Park Allen, two members from Edmonton Park Allen that are here, Mr. Bill Kublak and his daughter Deborah. If they'll please stand and receive the warm welcome of the House.
Tabor Warner.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased today to introduce three Albertans, two constituents and one resident from Lethbridge. I'm not sure if it's Lethbridge West or East. Earl O'Donnell, councillor for the County of Warner, and Kevin Moore, administrator for the County of Warner, and Ken Curtis from UMA. These three gentlemen were in our city today for an important meeting with the Minister of Transportation and Utilities on our very popular Alberta Farm Water Grant Program. If they would rise and receive the traditional welcome of the Assembly.
Edmonton Highlands.
Mr. Speaker, I was wondering if I was going to have to take a number to get into this queue. It's my pleasure today to introduce somebody who's visiting from the province of Quebec, Quebec City, in fact. Suzanne Caron is working in Edmonton under the Alberta-Quebec Student Exchange Program. She's accompanied today by another person under the same program, Benoit Beauchemin. The program is offered by Career Development Employment. We're all pleased to have these two people here. Would they rise and receive the welcome of the Assembly?
Bakerville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce to you and to members of the Assembly anybody in either the members or public gallery who hasn't already been introduced, and I'd like them to stand and receive the warm welcome of the members of the Assembly.
I realize, honorable members, this is the time for the silly season. That's a false assumption, members for Bakerville. The The chair has attempted to point out on a number of occasions through the House leaders that introductions are supposed to be treated seriously and very briefly. And also it's been pointed out that we're not here to be introducing our relevance. The time of the House is valuable even on the last day. And other legislatures, including the House of Commons and other provincial legislatures, they do not allow members to do the introduction of guests.
Or maybe from other constituencies.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's just a concern, again, that honorable members realize that it's a special privilege to this legislature, and the chair hopes it will continue, but it still needs to be in the brief manner. Thank you.
Material statements. Oral question period.
Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of the Environment. Mr. Speaker, an intergovernmental task force with members from Alberta, the Northwest Territories, and the federal government says a series of studies are needed to look at the impact of industrial development on the Peace Athabasca River system. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure the Environment Minister had a bad case of deja vu when he heard about this report, because it sure sounds a lot like the report of the original LPAC Review Board, which called for similar studies before the LPAC project is allowed to go ahead. It seems, Mr. Speaker, almost everybody in the province seems to understand the need for these studies except this government and this minister. Typical. Now, my question to the minister, now that a second task force has called for further studies on the river system, will the Minister of the Environment guarantee that the LPAC project will not be allowed to proceed before these studies are complete?
Hear, hear.
The task force that the honourable member alludes to was formed some time ago, and indeed it was always thought that the work of that task force would be tied in to the more extensive studies of the Athabasca and Peace river systems that will be initiated and launched as a result of the LPAC report. With respect to the Alberta Pacific project, the project that was the subject of probably the most extensive public review in the history of pulp mill development in this world, with respect to that particular program, the province is now preparing its response to the 60-odd recommendations in that report. The federal government is now preparing its response to the 60-odd recommendations in that report. Those responses, when they are coordinated and prepared, will be communicated to the company. They will be identified, many of them, as deficiencies. They will have to be addressed by the company at that particular time. With respect to what we now have, not officially by any stretch of the imagination, with respect to the so-called revised proposal, I have already said, and said public, that it will be subjected to some kind of public review. What that review is going to be, the shape it takes at this particular time, I don't know, honourable member.
Mr. Speaker, the minister, by that answer, we know the answer to the question, Mr. Speaker, by not giving an answer. Yep. And I want to ask this minister this question, Mr. Speaker. We understand that tomorrow in Calgary at 11 o'clock he's announced a news conference to deal with the LPAC project. As soon as the House rises, Mr. Speaker, and I say that's cowardly and contemptible, Mr. Speaker.
Here, here.
And I ask this minister, will the minister at least show some respect for the parliamentary system and stand in this House today and announce that in fact he has accepted the new LPAC proposal and there will not be full EIAs? Will he at least do the honorable thing?
First of all, Mr. Speaker, I thought that I answered the questions. I did answer the questions. The honourable member simply can't understand the answers. He refuses, if he can't understand, he just refuses to listen to the answers. And that's been typical of this member throughout this session and the last session, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him react the same way during the next session and all subsequent sessions. It's so typical of the leader of the official opposition. Now, with respect to the so-called announcement that I'll be having at 11 o'clock tomorrow, well, that is absolute poppycock, if I can use that word, because I'm going to be in the Stampede Parade at 11 o'clock tomorrow. As a matter of fact, I said that I would be available sometime in the afternoon in Calgary to respond to a statement that is going to be made by Alberta Pacific. And I would advise the honourable member to wait and see what that statement is.
Mr. Speaker, he may want to be cute. I hope he doesn't get a bucking horse. Mind you, the people of Alberta probably do, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the fact is he knows in this assembly right now, he knows what they're going to be advocating. He knows what he's going to say tomorrow. And I'm saying to him, rather than worrying about the Calgary Stampede, he is in the assembly here right now. Will he stand up and do the honorable thing and tell us precisely what's going to happen tomorrow?
Here, here.
No, I won't. Absolutely. I mean, why take the excitement out of it just for the benefit of the leader of the opposition? I don't know what ALPAC is going to say tomorrow. I have an idea. I have an idea what they're going to say tomorrow, and I don't know what my response is going to be. So why doesn't the honourable member do like I'm prepared to do, and that is wait until tomorrow?
Second main question, Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, and we believe the minister doesn't know it all. It's just coincidence that's going to happen the day that we're out of session. Yeah, Mr. Minister, we believe that, so the people of Alberta. But my question to the Premier, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Albertans know that this government has frankly done a terrible job of managing the economy. In fact, the Treasurer has asked us that he can borrow up to $11.5 billion because of their bungling and incompetence. Mr. Speaker, but what's the solution to the problem? They punish the taxpayers in Alberta, especially rural Alberta, by making dramatic cuts to a number of important programs needed by municipalities to provide service to their ratepayers. I give examples: cuts to CRC grants, elimination of the income tax rebate for private utilities, cuts to grants in lieu of taxes, new ambulance standards but no funding for municipalities to implement them, and the list goes on, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the Premier, who loves rural Alberta, who represents a rural riding, why he is making municipalities shoulder the burdens for this government's mismanagement.
Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition seemed to try and cover a whole bunch of areas in that question. He started out by saying there was something wrong with the Alberta economy. And I think we should just bring to his attention that the Alberta economy is the strongest economy in Canada. In Alberta, we have unemployment dramatically down. We have diversification of fact of life in this province. We have, even with a flat oil industry, we have strong growth, investment and confidence flowing across the province. We have the highest per capita retail sales in Canada. We have the lowest taxes in Canada, no sales tax. Mr. Speaker, people are pouring into Alberta to invest. This is an economy that has been turned around, broadened, and is strong and healthy. Now, it may be that the Leader of the Opposition and the NDP party don't like those conditions, and I can understand that. Right. Because, after all, they tend to find that they are happiest when things are gloomiest. Well, things aren't gloomy right now. They're strong and healthy in Alberta, and you're just going to have to enjoy it for a while.
Well, this is almost an incompetent answer as I got from the Minister of the Environment.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to repeat the question slowly to the Premier. In view of the fact that we've had a myriad of new taxes, call what you want, on rural municipalities, and the Premier is well aware that these are causing hardships in rural Alberta, and because he is a lover of rural Alberta, why is he doing it to them?
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's just not so. As a matter of fact, if you only check with the municipalities, you'll find the municipalities in this province are strong and healthy. Many operating with large surpluses and bank accounts. Now, if we want to talk about what's happening in rural Alberta, to our agriculture industry. Let's talk about this. They have the lowest fuel costs in North America. They have the lowest cost of money in Canada and in any farmers and ranchers in North America. We have, for the first time in history, single telephone lines going into all of our rural homes. We have a free trade agreement allowing agriculture to expand. We have new investments. We have a strengthening of the secondary highway system, Mr. Speaker. That's right. We have a new crop insurance program. We have a commitment to the quality of life in rural Alberta. We have protection against high interest rates for rural Albertans. Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry, but the Leader of the Opposition is wrong. It is true I'm committed to rural Alberta, but I'm committed to making sure that rural Alberta is strong and healthy, and that's the way it is.
Mr. Speaker, those darn rural Albertans are just not grateful to the Premier. They keep complaining, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was asking the Premier, and even his own figures indicate that there'll be 92,000 people less in rural Alberta. Yep. That's a lot of love. Is he going to love them when they move into the city, Mr. Speaker? Now, Mr. Speaker, I was asking him about bills that happened in this session. Bill 26, cuts to grants in lieu of taxes, etc., Mr. Speaker, and I'm asking the Premier again, how does he feel that these devastating policies are really going to help rural Albertans and their communities? And contrary to what the Premier says, a lot of them are suffering.
Well, again, Mr. Speaker, I just don't agree with the Leader of the Opposition. If he looks at the municipal assistant grants are up. The environmental and policing grants are up. We have the AMPLE program that's increased. We have health grants increased. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition is dead wrong. Dead wrong. He is dead wrong. Now, knowing him as I do, I'm happier that he's wrong than dead, but he is dead wrong.
Evans and Goldbar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's hear it. We have to be coached. Mr. Speaker, during this longest session in Alberta's history, we have dealt with many serious problems that face the people of the province, but no problem on Alberta's plate can compare with the seriousness of the very frightening financial position we're in after our sixth consecutive deficit budget and after years of mismanagement of our responsibility to the 200,000 Albertans whose pensions are guaranteed by this province. Mr. Speaker, I've just listened to the Premier's Joy to the World speech with interest, and we have from time to time been entertained but seldom enlightened by the Treasurer's old soft shoe. Now, I'd like to ask the Treasurer a question. Will the Provincial Treasurer stop this graceful dancing around long enough to admit what we all know and to commit to tell us when we reconvene in the fall just what Alberta's revised budget deficit will be for the current year and what he plans to do about it?
Give us a 15-minute order, please.
Mr. Speaker, I must say that the question in a circuitous fashion covered a lot of ground, but I'm glad it came back on an area where I can make some very positive statements. I know the leader-in-waiting, the Premier's honourable friend, wants a clear answer, and I'm going to do my best to give her a very clear answer about the forecast for this province. And I can certainly draw on the framework that the Premier has just put before the Assembly, Mr. Speaker, a framework which I think is truly a remarkable statement of the success of this government in achieving a recovery that has been unprecedented in the history of this province, going from 1986 to 1990. This province has rebounded like no other province has rebounded, given the sacrifices we had to make in 86 and 87. And we did it, Mr. Speaker, without burdening the taxpayer in this province, by maintaining the lowest possible taxes of any province in Canada to the benefit of those people right here in Alberta. And this economy has responded, Mr. Speaker. It's responded with new investment. It's
It's responded with consumer confidence showing up in the sales that retailers are experiencing and the new investment intentions which the private sector, the market economy, which is alien to those socialists across the way, is responding in this province. Do you know why that's happening, Mr. Speaker? Because this government has created an environment for investment, an environment of trust, an environment with a future attached to it, Mr. Speaker, and that's why it's happening, and that's why that budget forecast is right on track.
What I tell you, always entertaining, seldom enlightening. He should talk to the Fraser Institute about what they think about our taxes. Mr. Speaker, aside from the zero deficit pie in the sky, we have another challenge to meet, and that's actually getting down to it and paying off the nearly $10 billion debt this government has rung up. Can the Treasurer tell us what his plan is? Is there a plan? Will he table it for us?
Mr. Speaker, the member talked about the Fraser Institute, and I think it's only appropriate that I comment on the Fraser Institute. We have had many times before, I've tried to clarify for the people of Alberta and for this Assembly that royalties are not part of the tax base. And this is why the Fraser Institute continues to misrepresent the facts. Now, I can understand why the Liberal Party would align itself with that position. I can understand that, Mr. Speaker, because, of course, it was the Liberal Party that raped this province with the National Energy Program. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal Party, as shown by this Liberal Party here in the province, has no respect for the royalties that belong to the people of this province. And that was not a flippant comment. That was a comment of true intention. Part of their manifesto, Mr. Speaker, they have no respect for the royalties which flow to the people of this province, which belong to all Albertans and do not belong to the centralist Liberal Party.
Yeah, I would have hated to end the session without another one of these, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, can the Treasurer now tell us if he's learned anything from Ontario's plan to pay off its much smaller per capita unfunded pension liability? Tell us, what is Alberta's plan, Mr. Treasurer, and when are we going to see it?
Mr. Speaker, I could also speak about Ontario, but I understand the Premier of Ontario is visiting us on Monday, and I wouldn't want to see my words given back to our Premier when they meet, so I'll be careful about that, Mr. Speaker. But I can say that with respect to the pension liability, we have spoken in this House on many occasions about the liability, and I've indicated already that it's under review, that we have a plan which will deal with the unfunded liability. But since the Liberal opposition continues to raise it, I'm sure that they will buy into some of the solutions which are implicit in dealing with unfunded pension liabilities. That is to say that the people who are beneficiaries of the plan must pay more, and therefore those people who are receiving the benefits must have to have their benefits adjusted. Now, if the Liberal Party continues to raise those kinds of concerns time after time and time again, they must be able to buy into that kind of a solution, Mr. Speaker, because really that's the only thing that can be put in place to solve it. Let me make it very clear, though, Mr. Speaker, that the concerns that have been raised with me personally by many people receiving pension benefits from this province as a result of the alarmist statements made by the Liberal Party across the way, let me make it very clear that we will not back away from our commitment to those pensioners. We continue to provide COLA adjustments, which has not been paid for by the beneficiaries. We continue to maintain our commitment to those pension beneficiaries that they will receive the benefits. Now, despite the misleading statements of the opposition leader, the member of the Liberal Party across the way, we will not back down from that. I want to be crystal clear. Despite the misrepresentations by the Liberal Party, we will not back away from our commitment to the pension plan. So let's hope that alarmist statement does not confuse the beneficiaries of the pension plan, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Drumheller.
Mr. Speaker, my question is for the Honourable Premier. Because constitutional renewal in Canada has been torpedoed by the misguided and selfish attitudes of a couple of individuals, can the Premier say, if other methods have been found to address Alberta's concerns within our federal system?
Mr. Speaker, it is true that now we are not having meetings amongst the 11 First Ministers, that we have lost a valuable way in which to discuss and deal with national issues or issues of importance to Alberta as it relates to federal government or other provinces. But it is necessary, I believe, to continue to deal with the other provinces as we can. The Honourable Provincial Treasurer mentioned that the Premier of Ontario will be visiting Sunday evening and Monday for a bilateral meeting, an Ontario-Alberta bilateral meeting. I have been invited to Quebec to have a bilateral meeting with the Premier of Quebec. And in order that we have Ottawa fully aware of and dealing with the important federal provincial issues, the issues between Alberta and the federal government, I can confirm that the first bilateral meeting, that is between Ottawa and a province, will be between will be between Alberta and the federal government. And we intend to make that a meeting that includes key ministers, perhaps key public servants as well as the Prime Minister and myself.
Supplementary, Drumheller.
Can the Honourable Premier say what subjects are on the agenda for discussions with the federal government and when this meeting might be held?
Mr. Speaker, I would hope the meeting could be held before the end of this month. It may be that just the scheduling of individual people's itineraries will cause it to be a little beyond that, but we want it to be as quickly as possible. It would involve such matters as agriculture, obviously, the jurisdiction over the environment, cooperation on the environment, matters of tourism, economic development and trade, interprovincial trade barriers, stabilization payments, telecommunications. There's quite an array of issues, as the honourable members would know, and we will want to deal with them all in a fully detailed way and set in place a process for having these federal provincial issues dealt with in a way that's best for our province.
Edmonton Calder.
Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Minister of Family and Social Services. The cost of living continues to increase, and people on social assistance are trying to cope on incomes that were set for them in 1982. The assured income for the severely handicapped has not been increased for over 4 years, and yet people living on age in auxiliary hospitals are being charged 14% more for basic care thanks to this government. Shame. And I'd like to ask this minister, Mr. Speaker, in view of the fact that food banks continue to do the job of this government and that people are breaking down because they're trying to make ends meet, why does this minister continue to stall and refuse to raise rates when there are so many people in such desperate situations?
Mr. Speaker, again, not stalling. Mr. Speaker, I've said all along that this government is looking very thoroughly, very carefully, very appropriately at major social reforms, that we're not going to do it on a casual basis, that we're not going to do it without taking the necessary time to make sure that the steps we take are the appropriate ones. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say as the minister responsible, how encouraged I am and how much I appreciate the time that our caucus and our Premier has spent in looking for solutions, the time that Albertans have spent at working with us, the kind of effort that community groups, advocacy groups, Albertans are putting in towards looking for solutions right across this province. Mr. Speaker, again, I want to remind the members opposite that they can't continue to take just a shallow look at this very complex problem. That the solutions aren't just a matter of standing up and waving a wand or simply throwing more money at the problem. Mr. Speaker, we are spending $1.4 billion in my department this year. And I'm looking, Mr. Speaker, for long-term answers. I'm looking for meaningful solutions. I'm trying to reach a challenge that's not not unique to Alberta. It's a challenge that indeed we're facing as a nation. But again, Mr. Speaker, I want to emphasize that I'm not going to allow the integrity of these reforms to be compromised by jumping into it blindly as the members opposite would have us do.
Supplementary, Mr. Speaker. Well, the empty words from this minister are very little comfort for all those people that are living in poverty.
That's right.
And I would like to remind this minister that on March 14th in this assembly, and I quote, he said, "This government is committed to introducing new social reforms in this session." Well, Mr. Speaker, it's the last day of session, and the minister still has not kept his promise to put more money in the pockets of the poor of this province. So my last question to the minister is, does the minister intend to live up to his word in this assembly and recognize the urgency of this issue and raise these rates before this session is through today?
Well, Mr. Speaker, again, Mr. Speaker, I would only say a number of things. One is the session hasn't ended yet, and obviously there's no way with any certainty of anticipating when sessions might end. But I would only say, Mr. Speaker, I would only say that we are as committed as I was on March the 14th to bringing forward social reforms, that we've obviously spent more time on it than I had anticipated was going to be necessary. But again, Mr. Speaker, I want to reiterate that from my perspective, it's more important to do it the right way than to do it in a rushed and unthoughtful fashion. So, Mr. Speaker, again, we are committed to major social reform, and I would want to say, to suggest that we've done nothing. Again, Mr. Speaker, it's always difficult to have the members opposite listen to some of the information that we try to provide them from time to time through question period. But I think the Premier earlier in question period outlined some of the initiatives that we're doing to help people living below the poverty line. I know the members opposite don't think jobs are the answer. I happen to think that jobs are an important part of the answer. And this government has created more jobs in Alberta today than we've ever had in the history of this province. We happen to think diversification is an important part of it. Again, our diversification...
Thank you, Your Honourable Member. Westlock Sturgeon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to address a question to the Minister of Agriculture and possibly to the Treasurer, as he was bragging about the environment of trust that is stampeding all these international buccaneers coming into Alberta to invest and take loans from the government. And speaking particularly of West Can malting, which concerns me a bit, Mr. Speaker, because one of the principals, or some of the principals who are founders in this group, has taken Saskatchewan government to the cleaners in a plant that they've just taken over. And so be interested to note just what precautions, Mr. Speaker, that the minister has taken here. For instance, besides the subsidy of not having to pay interest for 3 years on half the loan, the other half the loan will pay no interest at all unless the company makes money. Was the minister able to get personal guarantees for the principals involved in the Canada malting thing? For Western Montreal, I'm sorry.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure where the honourable member is getting some of his misinformation. As I stated before in the House, the involvement with West Canada through the Agricultural Development Corporation, our agribusiness lending arm. The arrangement is commercial, with part of it being in redeemable preferred shares, part of it being in a direct loan with capitalized interest granted. Our position is, I would say, commercially secure, and I think it's a good news project for Alex, Alberta, and it's certainly a good news project for barley producers across this province.
Mr. Speaker, even such a financial tripsicorian as the Treasurer would agree that capitalizing interest and preferred shares redeemable and paid interest only if they made profit would be a subsidy. But let's go a step further, Mr. Speaker. Has the minister gone out of his way to check whether or not the principals involved in the fund, some of them in construction, some have represented and sold malting equipment in North America, are not involved in any cozy type of a relationship where the charges will come back into the building of the plant.
Mr. Speaker, I'm confident that the staff at the Ag Development Corporation has checked the backgrounds of all participants very carefully, has checked the financial strength of the participants very carefully, and feel comfortable that they've invested money in a worthwhile venture for secondary processing in the province.
Lesser Slave Lake. Lesser Slave Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister of Energy, there's been a lot of talk in the past in print and electronic media that suggests energy mega projects may be a thing of the past, particularly since we have done such an excellent job in diversifying our economy in the forestry industry.
The opposition hate good news. They just hate good news.
Sounds like the eggs are hatching.
That's right. And
these
myths. They don't like good news. Don't like good news.
Mr. Speaker.
Smells like they're hatching.
These myths dampen the spirits of Albertans interested in progress and jobs for Albertans in the energy sector. What, to the Minister, is your view of the future of mega projects such as the Oslo?
Mr. Speaker, the reaction of the opposition is another example of how they do not want to hear the good news about orderly development of our resources, job creation, and carrying on with the economy, Mr. Speaker.
The chair is willing to hear both the good news and the bad news, but at the moment the chair can't hear anything. So could we tone it down a little bit, please? Minister of Energy.
Mr. Speaker, with the Oslo project, we had some nervous moments recently with the pullout of the federal government. Quite frankly, as we've indicated previously, we find it somewhat troublesome that the federal government has not extended a commitment to security of supply in this country for our oil. And as we have indicated in the past, that by the year 2010, it is quite possible that the country of Canada will import 925,000 barrels of oil per day with one other oil sands plant. Today, we produce about 1.4 million and consume about 1.4 million. So the responsibility for security of supply obviously does not lie, in the opinion of the federal government, at their feet. Mr. Speaker, we have recently concluded negotiations with the Oslo Consortium, and we are very pleased that they have renewed their commitment. And my belief is that the project will continue, that there will be other interest in oil sands development. We have seen the Petro-Canada coming forward, expressing an interest in developing their Daphne lease. And so I think on the oil sands side, Mr. Speaker, that we are dispatching our responsibilities as a government and proceeding with orderly development of our resources on an environmentally sound way.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that certain things are starting to occur in the energy sector. However, there seems to be many articles that have just been recently surfacing regarding the government commitments, and I know you discussed that to some extent, to the Oslo project. Could you please explain where Alberta stands in its commitment to ensure that this important Alberta project, like all others, goes ahead?
Mr. Speaker, at least the member for Vegreville is appreciative of the job this government does.
Yeah, here.
Mr. Speaker, we have just this week concluded negotiations with the Oslo partners. As I've indicated earlier, there were some difficult moments with regard to the Oslo project with the pullout of the federal government. We have recently concluded negotiations whereby the province of Alberta will contribute 36% of the Oslo engineering phase, which amounts to about $46.8 million. And we are very pleased with the commitment that our government has seen their way clear to support the completion of this project. As we know, the federal government has converted their interest to grants and will contribute $45.5 million. And this is important to Alberta, Mr. Speaker. This is a huge economic generator to the province of Alberta. It demonstrates that the province and that certain industry players are interested in oil sands development. And this agreement now ensures that all parties, including Petro-Canada, Mr. Speaker, will be participating through to completion of the engineering phase, which will be sometime around the end of 1991. I can say, Mr. Speaker, that the parties now, the Oslo owners, are wanting to discuss the appropriation stage, the big project, the $4.1 billion project. So this summer we will be conducting discussions with them, Mr. Speaker. I'm very optimistic, given the fact that OPEC is at pretty much at a maximum in terms of productive capacity. Conventional supplies are declining in this country. I believe it's the right decision, and certainly the province of Alberta will be proceeding with this project. Firstly, because it's important on self-sufficiency, and secondly, because it will contribute to orderly development of our endowment of our resources, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As a result of the decision to require all service stations selling propane in Alberta to act as tax collectors for the new 5-cent per liter fuel tax on liquid petroleum gas, this government has needlessly burdened small business in this province with another layer of paperwork and red tape.
Way to go, Dick.
To the provincial treasurer, given that the tax on other types of fuel such as gasoline and diesel fuel has successfully been collected for years at the wholesale rather than the retail level, and given that the corporate tax administration people in the Treasury Department told us that the decision to collect the propane tax at the retail level was not made by them, how can the Treasurer justify needlessly burdening service station dealers in this province with the job of collecting and remitting the 5-cent per liter tax on LPG fuels?
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's obviously some misinformation in the member's question, as usual. No doubt Mr. Speaker, when we put into place the tax on propane, we imposed the tax across those people who use propane for transportation purposes, exempting farmers, exempting the use for other uses that were not aligned with transportation. As I've said in the House before, Mr. Speaker, the tax rate in Alberta, in fact, is among the lowest on propane, and we have allowed the propane users a time to retrofit their vehicles to take advantage of a cheap fuel over a fairly extensive period, about 3.5 to 4 years. So the benefit is there. We've talked already about the need to have the taxation for the balanced budget. We want to have fiscal responsibility, as it seems even the opposition talks about. If even the opposition agrees the fiscal responsibility side, then of course we needed that tax side. Now what we have done, Mr. Speaker, in terms of implementation, is ask those people who collect the mark the fuel tax for us in other forms of fuel to collect it for us as well. And I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, that nobody in Treasury said it was not their recommendation to do it that way. They are the ones who make the policy recommend the way in which it works. They're the ones who are sensitive to the field response and the people who are employing the tax, and they're the ones who, on a matter of course, will adjust the tax and the tax collection system to best suit those people who are assisting the province for fee, by the way, to collect that tax.
Mr. Speaker, I find the Treasurer's explanation extremely hard to accept, and also I would like to give him the source of my misinformation. His own information circulars out of the department. I'd like the page to take that over to him, please.
How about that, eh? How about that? He didn't read it again.
Mr. Speaker, this department is needlessly burdening thousands of small businesses in Alberta with extra paperwork, just so they can deal with the small volumes of propane that most service stations would sell for non-transportation uses. In addition, Mr. Speaker, there is a process now in place for propane rebates to some people on a quarterly basis. I can't help but wonder, Mr. Speaker, where the real explanation for the propane tax being applied at the retail level is that this government is using it as a pilot project for bringing in a broadly based retail sales tax down the road. Given the deplorable state of the province's finances, and given that the decision to collect the LPG tax at the retail level was made by tax policy rather than the administration side of the Treasurer's Department, is this a foreshadowing of things to come, namely the introduction of a more broadly based retail sales tax at some point in the future?
Now, Mr. Speaker, I take that as a recommendation from the Socialist NDP party, and we will quickly reject it, Mr. Speaker. Quickly reject it. I have thought all along that, I have always believed all along, Mr. Speaker, that the only solution that the non-thinking socialists of the Liberal or the NDP persuasion would come up with would be a retail sales tax, Mr. Speaker. And now the true attention, the true policy, Mr. Speaker, has now been outlined today, and I'm glad it did on the last day of the Assembly. I want the record to show that they're advocating that sales tax, Mr. Speaker, and let the people of Alberta know, finally, that these socialists will tax everything away. A tax in your mother's house, a tax in retail sales, Mr. Speaker, that's the way...
And from time to time, question period taxes us all. Edmonton Meadowlark.
A simple yes or no would have sufficed to the treasurer. Mr. Speaker, I would like to point out that for 3 years, the village of Riley has conducted a highly successful composting project which has a 95% participation rate by the people of Riley and which has contributed to a reduction in Riley's solid waste of between 35 and 40%. It has received support from the provincial government over these 3 years, but now suddenly provincial support has been stopped. To the Minister of the Environment, why at a time when we need constructive environmental action, not just talk, not just public relations, would this government demonstrate once again a distinct bias for inaction by cutting off this important Riley composting project?
First of all, Mr. Speaker, we haven't cut off the composting program at all. We're highly supportive of the initiatives being undertaken in Riley. The situation is this. We are discussing now with officials in Riley a funding formula for that particular program, and it simply those discussions haven't been concluded. But we haven't cut them off. We have no intention of cutting them off, and it's simply a matter of them asking for something and negotiating what is deemed to be reasonable under the circumstances. But to say that we've cut them off and to say that we have brought the program to a halt is absolutely wrong, Mr. Speaker.
Given that the funding year, of course, ended at the end of March, could the minister please give us some indication of how it is that he expects this project to continue over 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months without funding, and will he give us an indication specifically of when they will be told whether or not and how much funding they will get for this year and for years to come?
Mr. Speaker, we have asked the officials to give us some specific information relative to this project. That information, I understand, has been received. It is being assessed, and we will work out with the community a reasonable funding formula that is equitable not only to the town of Riley and to that project, but is fair to all other municipalities in the province that also have recycling initiatives. The town of Riley is not the only municipality in the province with alternate forms of waste management underway. We have a program in the town of Wainwright relative to incineration. We have under consideration a recycling proposal to take organic garbage and mix it with manure and swine urine in the town of Olds. That's under consideration. So we have to make sure that our resources are shared properly. We also have in the works a comprehensive waste minimization and recycling program that will hopefully spell out a whole new set of policy relative to government funding for recycling programs. So, Riley is not the only town in this particular game. We are supportive of the particular project there. We are willing to fund the project, but we must do it on an equitable basis.
Next one, Highwood.
Mr. Speaker,
My question today, Mr. Speaker, is to the Minister of Economic Development and Trade. Mr. Speaker, in the beautiful constituency of Highwood, we have Highwood Distillers. They produce a fine range of quality distilled products that sell at competitive prices in Alberta, in Saskatchewan, and in Manitoba. This past week, Highwood Distillers announced the sale of 10,000 units to the Republic of South Korea. At almost the same time, they were turned down by the province of British Columbia for the third time by the liquor authorities there. My question then to the minister is, what is this minister prepared to do to foster interprovincial trade in Alberta products like those of Alberta-owned Highwood Distillers to boost the spirits of free trade?
Mr. Speaker, as the honourable member should be aware, this province has been the leader in the breaking down of the interprovincial trade barriers that have existed. We recently signed a memorandum of understanding with the 4 western provinces, and I'm happy to make representations in conjunction with the honourable member if he feels an injustice is being created to the proper agencies in British Columbia. We're more than happy, recognizing the industrious nature of the Highwood Distillers, to pursue their goal with them so that they will have access to the BC market.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My supplementary question then is to the minister responsible for the Alberta Liquor Control Board, the Solicitor General. This kind of trade barrier goes against the Western grain. Is the minister prepared to use the goodwill that he has created by LCB's acceptance of BC's kokanee and numerous BC wines to gain shelf space for Alberta products like those of Highwood Distillers?
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to respond to the honourable member from Calgary and indicate that for the past year, the Alberta Liquor Control Board has been inquiring into, investigating, and making great strides in rationalizing the free movement of liquor and beer, most particularly beer, over the provincial trade barriers that have been in existence for many years. Both major breweries have been given permission by the ALCB to import beers from other provinces into Alberta. We remain concerned, of course, about the number of jobs that may disappear or possibly disappear in the rationalization of the beer industry in Canada, and have a very deep regard for that particular matter, and will continue to do so as discussions continue on this matter.
Thank you. No points of order? No points of privilege? No more questions? Gee whiz. Orders of the day.
Speaker, I understand that